Okay, guys, welcome to our session on the changing job market from a CEO or hiring manager's perspective. My name is Anthony, for those that don't know me. Like I said, we're going to be doing a series of these conversations in the upcoming days and then talk about different other things. So, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and let's have some good fun and discuss some important things. We all are aware of the transitory period that we find ourselves in. The job market is becoming very, very difficult. It's a very, it's a warfare. That's probably the best way to sort of typify and explain what's truly happening there. And, people are struggling to find work. And that's the reality. This is the reality on ground. This is the reality that most people are facing. Some people have been made redundant, and the transition from one job to another is becoming a very, very, very tall task. Some people's jobs have been made obsolete by virtue of artificial intelligence. And, people are perplexed and have all kinds of questions as to what's truly happening, whether or not there's going to be any change in the foreseeable future. And I think you have to sort of begin to understand that if you are engaged in a warfare, it's one thing to know what you need to do, right? And think about all the wonderful strategies that you need to have and how you're going to use artificial intelligence to create your CV and how you're going to apply a number of jobs and you're going to use different kinds of schemes and different, means and whatever. But if you fail to understand that you're operating in a context and you need to have a very good holistic understanding of what is truly happening in that environment, your strategy might be short-sighted. And this is the reason for this particular conversation here. The goal is very simple. Look, you've got to understand that, yes, you need to know what you need to do, your strengths, your weaknesses, and all the sort of changes you need to bring in, but you need to really have a healthy appreciation of the market space. And so if you're struggling to find work, if you're struggling to find your next job, if, finding work is proving very difficult, then I really want to sort of implore you to listen to me on this particular topic here. And hopefully you can gain some insights that will help you. All right. Now, what's truly happening in the market space? Well, the first thing is that the job market is undergoing major transformations due to two major criteria here. There are other things that are sort of, affecting the job market, but the first one is economic challenges, and then the second one is technological shifts. And I'll be discussing this in a little bit more details very soon. But the point is this: there's high cost of goods. Inflation is high, is at an all-time in most places. The cost of borrowing has increased. Interest rates are very, very high. There's fundamental questions about it's coming down here in different countries, et cetera, et cetera. But generally, the cost of borrowing is extremely high. And then you have supply chain issues. And then when it comes to technological shifts here, we're talking fundamentally about things like, AI, automation, and the sort of the new developments that we're sort of seeing. So whilst there is, a downward spiral for certain industries and certain sort of tasks and activities, there's also major investments and opportunities that we need to also bear in mind. But the reality is the entire economies of this world are increasingly seeing more and more a sort of a transformation, a shift. And having that clarity and seeing it for what it is very important in your quest to find your next job. Now, this is another thing that you need to sort of see, that there are changes in the economy and also the technological advancement is having direct impact in what CEOs' objectives and goals and visions are, right? Those that are operating in the new industries and new trends where there's major investments are having a ball of their life. They are probably enjoying immense amount of resources and cash flow that they've never seen before. But those that have been directly affected one way or the other are seeing a diminishing number of contracts that they can get, number of projects that they can embark on, and number of sort of wins as far as business deals are concerned. Now, that has direct implication on the resourcing or resource profiling or the resource requirements that most of organizations are going to require. Like I said, it's not everywhere. There are new industries, new sectors, new places where the money of this world is being channeled towards. But there are also those that are, facing one major challenges in the ability to recruit, in the ability to bring in new people to the team. Now, the third thing, and so this presentation here really seeks to explore how these shifts impacts hiring decisions, right? and then what job seekers must do. So you and I, whilst you're busy thinking about how you're going to use ChatGPT and all the various templates and tools out there to to seek for work, you've got to understand those on the receiving end of your CV, what's going on in their mind, what kinds of decisions are they making, and whether or not they're in a position to accommodate certain things or not, right? So having that balance in understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, and also understanding what's going on from the perspective of the CEO is critical, because then you can now make the necessary adjustments that is, quite, it will make it click, right? So we're going to discuss this in detail. I hope this will sort of help some of you out there to have a better understanding of what you need to do. Now, this is from Sanchu's The Art of War. It says, if you know, right, your enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. If you know your enemy, if you understand that you're in a war and you understand what is truly happening as far as the environment that you operate in, and you understand what the dynamics are there, and you know yourself, then you're not going to be concerned. You're not worried, because you know the road. You understand how to strategize. That's the point. You know how to, not be caught off guard. You know how to leverage on your strengths. You know how to position yourself. You know how to sort of do the right thing so that things can be in your advantage. But if you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you succumb to every single battle. And this speaks to some of the challenges. This speaks to the kind of people that are in this particular landscape. And I'm speaking to those that have clarity of the context and their strengths, those that have clarity of the context, but they don't know their strengths, and those that don't know their strengths and don't know the context that they are operating in. If you find yourself in any of these categories, you got to realize that you have to come to that place of knowing truly what's happening in the market space, and then also having a very solid understanding of your key strengths, and also be clear on what you need to do to be able to strategize properly. So this is where we're starting our conversation, and this is what we are going to be sort of looking at. Now, let's go. A changing business landscape. So CEOs are facing new challenges due to how, like I said, rising cost of goods, supply chain disruptions, wars, increasing borrowing costs, post-COVID inflation. That this is a reality across every single country in this world. Rising public debt and market uncertainty are influencing business strategies, right? April is coming. This is a financial year for most organizations, and they're beginning to sort of set up they're not beginning. They've already started their case, probably months before, beginning to establish their goals and the visions and things that they want to achieve. And at this point, it's clear that the new strategies that they are bringing in are not necessarily the same in the era when they had disposable income and they could borrow significant amount of money and be able to sort of do so much, right? We are not in that season. We're in a different season. It's a season where you're going to bootstrap. It's a season where you have to be more creative, more dynamic, think outside of the box. And this is what most CEOs are finding themselves in. The contracts are not coming as it was before. I mean, if you think about what Doge is doing in America, for example, cutting down on public spending. Now, that's good because the public debt, spending will be down. However, you've got to understand that directly affects local businesses who were feeding off government contracts and employing people. So there's a cascading effect, as it were, by virtue of this, default cutting of spending from the government. Now, that's exactly what we're saying. If that's the reality, and that's one side of the coin, really, because the other side of the coin is that today we have artificial intelligence, and I'll talk about it. Artificial intelligence is coming in. We are all exploring the potentials of automating work, the potential of using AI to increase productivity, etc., and the potential that one man can actually do quite a lot, and so there's no need to really hire a lot of people. Then if that's the case, then, we have to embrace and we have to understand how to position ourselves as job hunters. Companies are being forced to rethink their investments and expansion plans. Yes, right? Because there's not enough cash flow as it was before. But the fundamental reality is that the money in this world has not left this world. It's still here, right? It's just being channeled in other ways. Money is flowing, continuously flowing. It's a currency, but it's now being channeled towards other things that we need to look at. What does that mean in terms of projects and contracts? Well, many businesses are struggling to secure new contracts due to economic instability. Some companies are investing in AI, like I said, automation and emerging technologies, while others are going bankrupt. There's a huge number of companies, especially in some of these. If you think about, for example, the construction industry, a lot of companies are going into administration and bankruptcy, and a new company. I mean, there's so many different stores that you go outside and you're seeing them close down and et cetera, because as the world advances and new technologies are coming, the old ways of doing things, you have to make way, right? You cannot pour new wine into the old wine bottle, as it were, right? So you a lot of the old ways of doing things will have to sort of make way for the new things, and that is the transition that we are in, right? We don't know what lies ahead yet. Nobody can figure it out. There's speculation of human beings not being needed to work. There's speculation of all kinds of stuff. But the fundamental reality is now, 2025, what should you do? This is what we're discussing here. The shift effects. This shift, sorry, affects the number and type of jobs opportunities available. And those are the two fundamental things here. The qualifiers here are the number and the types of jobs that are available. So whilst the number of jobs are decreasing by virtue of, there not being enough contracts, etc., also the kind of skills and the kind of expectations that recruiters and CEOs are having is outlandish. But they can, because there's not enough. The market is, it's an employer's market. They have all the leverage. You are the one that's looking for work. You're applying for work with 1,000 or 2,000 other people that are in the same boat. So what are you going to do? Right? So that's the fundamental thing. Now, I put this here because this is a sort of a good bridge to go into what I'm about to talk about. Now, one of the things I do is what we call resource planning. I think it's very, very healthy way to sort of go into our conversation. Resource planning really is just a fundamental way of saying that we're looking at our projects and looking at our resources. And the fundamental question here is, do we have enough resources? Resources here being people, right? With the right skill sets to be able to carry out the projects. And at each stage of the number of projects or the number of things that we're working on, we will require specific skill sets to do it, right? So if we have 50 schemes or projects or products or whatever that we're building, ultimately it will have implications on the number of project managers, leaders, this, that, subject matter experts, consultants, whoever, right? So there is a direct correlation on the projects, number of projects and contracts and businesses that we're working on, and also the resources. Now, what does that mean? If the number of projects increases, we naturally will have to employ more people. If the number of projects and contracts decreases, we will also naturally have to decrease the number of people that we have. That's just simple business smarts. Also, if the stages and the types of projects that we are working on changes, we also have to factor in the type of people we have, right? And whether we are going to leverage on upskilling them and then getting them to have the relevant skills, or we look at, bringing in specific skill sets that will allow us to, meet up with the changing dynamics. And so we look at capacity, skills, workloads, availability. All of these things are fundamental questions that we sort of look at. And this is something that I do, right? And I think that is one of the major things that you have to understand from the outside. That from on the inside, companies are not just deciding, sitting there and saying, you know what, we need to just put out jobs. I know you know that, but are you aware of the fact that as the number is decreasing because of AI, because of the challenges in the market space, but also fundamentally because of the type of projects that are coming into the market space? So a specific job ads are coming out there. You are out there, you are looking for work, and you're saying, I have this skill sets, I've been XYZ for 20 years. The question is whether or not what you have is necessary to help these companies to navigate the complexities and the challenges they face today to transition into the new world that they are all looking at. Or do you have the right skill sets to be able to help them to deal with the challenges they have today in navigating, right? In creatively navigating the complexities that they have at the different stages of the things that they are doing. So you have to begin to think about these things. It's very fundamental because if you don't think about it, you're just only thinking about the fact that you want a job and you have a job ad and you've applied for it and why didn't I get it? Why didn't you? Well, they're not just looking for people. They're looking for people with specific skill sets, right? Specific skill sets. So this is very, very critical here. Resource planning is a key to understanding how you should position yourself on the outside. So the new reality of hiring, well, as businesses restructure, hiring priorities have changed. If we are at certain stage of our projects, or we are experiencing certain requirements to position our business to be profitable, we need to change what was important to us. Before we were hiring X, now we want Y. Why? Because Y is what is needed in order to go into the future or in order to deal with the complexities and the challenges that we have today. So there is a clear shift in the priorities that hiring managers have because of the priorities of schemes and the kind of things that they are working on and the stages that those things find themselves and the complexities of the environment that they are working in. And so you have to also begin to think of how you can position yourself. Right? Companies are now focusing on strategic hires, candidates who can drive efficiency, innovation, profitability. The demand for traditional roles is shrinking, while new roles in AI, data, and automation is growing. And that's a fact. That's a fundamental fact. I keep saying that more and more junior level roles are diminishing. Doesn't mean it's extinct, but it's diminishing because now, because of financial restraints, companies are pushing naturally the roles, the responsibilities to managers to do it. But then because of AI, you can do that in a much faster, simpler, easier way, right? So the idea of having a junior this or junior that is going to also diminish. If you take the role of product managers as a case study, if you have AI to supplement the work of product managers or business analysts, right? The fundamental thing here is that if you use AI, you have now cut down the amount of work by 50, 60, 70%. If a company had 10 business analysts, that naturally means that because of AI, they can decrease to less than that, half, or maybe even to 2 or 3, who can do the work of 10 people. Why? Because of artificial intelligence. Coupled with that is what I keep saying is that they're not necessarily having that many contracts. Also, they're having different kinds of contract that require specific skill sets. Maybe you're a business analyst. They require a little bit of data analysis. Are you still stuck in your ways? Those are fundamental questions that you need to start seeing it for what it is before you say, why am I not having work or why are they not employing me? Well, because the dynamics that they are operating in is different, right? Then there's a demand for traditional roles. Sorry, the demand for traditional roles is shrinking, whilst new roles in AI and data and automations are growing. Now, let me say something very, very fundamental here, and that is this: that the world is not just technology, right? There are other industries and other sectors that require traditional roles, et cetera, et cetera. So, nurses are still needed to go into the hospitals. Doctors are still needed. Has AI come into this space? Yes, it is. Right? There are certain challenges and complexities that they might face. But the fundamental thing I'm trying to say is the world is not just technology. So don't just think that we just mean you have to adopt technological whatever. The fundamental point is you need to understand the new hiring reality in your context or in the context that you intend to go in. Embrace the requirements or the changes that has come upon them by virtue of financial constraints, by virtue of challenging economic dynamics, technological advancement, etc., and the list goes on. And begin to now strategize, positioning yourself correctly so that you can be able to attract the relevant people. Because if you don't understand this and you are adopting all these technological tools, AI, this, and then to look at your CVs and whatnot, they are beautiful, but you're failing to realize the most fundamental thing, which is your strategy has to be in tandem with the context that you're in. It's about positioning. It's more about positioning than it is about just throwing things out there in hope that it will work. All right, the cost of hiring and resourcing decisions. So given financial pressures, companies are cautious about hiring, rightly so. Employers now prioritize multi-skilled professionals who can wear multiple hats. And that's a fact. I have said it and I keep saying that the new way to be secured in your job is to have more skills, right? If you're a project manager, learn data analysis, learn business analysis, learn digital transformation. Like the more skills you have, the better it is. Learn cybersecurity. Finish one boot camp, go to the next. Then data science. Just understand that the more skills you have, the more the your hiring manager, your service manager, whatever, has a rationale to keep you. Because in bringing in someone else who does not possess the plethora of skill sets that you have, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. It's going to be very difficult for them to replace you if you have more skills, right? So if, again, going back to what we said at the beginning, if you have been applying for work, you are made redundant from XYZ company, and you've been like that for over 20 years, and you think that industry, you can see that industry is being changed by virtue of artificial intelligence or financial constraints, and the number of employers, employment requirement is going down. They don't need that many people, and you're sitting down and arguing against this fundamental change. You don't understand what's going on. You need to now pivot and begin to develop new skills that are in demand, highly sought after skills in the new market, in the new world that we're in. Critical thinking, problem solving skills, and then the new technologies that we have, leadership skills. These are fundamental skills that you need to have. And it requires change. It will take time. But if you don't do it now, the fact is you're going to struggle to ultimately compete, and you're not even. And another thing is that there's so many people in the market. So what makes you different? That you have 20 years of experience in maybe doing one particular thing that all of a sudden AI can do? No. So you need to understand what you have to do. Hiring mistakes are costlier than ever, making competition for jobs more intense. This is a fact. This is a fact. Now, this is where we are. We've moved from a knowledge economy or knowledge world. I mean, it's always been a skill set economy, but for a very long period, your certifications and your scholastic erudition, your degrees, as it were, was something that was priced as a top priority. It still plays a key role. Make no mistakes about it. If you finish university, you have your masters, etc., and you have certifications, you're still going to be given some level of credit for what you've done. But the point is this, that hiring managers today want to know that you have the skills, you know the tools, and you know the processes and the procedures to do the job. That's why I keep saying that skills is the gold mine of today's economy. More skills, right? You understand if it's data analysis, you know how to use Power BI, you know how to use Tableau, you can do SQL, Python, Excel. Then after that, when it comes to project management, you understand, all the various tools from your Jira, Microsoft projects, etc., etc. Cybersecurity, you understand the tools, your Splunks, your Metasploit, this, that, the fundamental things. You know how to use the tools, and you're very skilled at using them. And this can only be possible if you are constantly practicing with the tools. So the basis here is to have more skills. Job titles matter less. What counts is what you can do. The more skills you have, the more competent you become, the more you secure your roles, or the more chances of you getting hired. Just imagine on my CV, I have all the skills that I have with my certifications and my experience and the kinds of projects that I've been in and the exposures that I've had as far as the development processes over the last couple of years. Also, AI or automation, digital transformation are refining required skills. Yes, right? Do you know how to use AI to simplify your work? I understand from the initiation all the way to anything that you give me, where AI comes in and what I'm supposed to do with it. Soft skills like adaptability, critical thinking, problem solving. I told my manager the other day, I said, I am a problem solver. Just hand me the problem and go and sleep. Right? I have less liability here. You don't have to worry about me. I just come here to solve problems for you. My thinking patterns my critical thinking capabilities are constantly in use because companies are looking for this. Innovation, people that can take something that means nothing and make sense out of it and create something out of it. So these are skills that most organizations are looking for. Not just I finished the boot camp and I was told that if I do this, I will do that. That's not going anywhere. Right? So if you find yourself going into interviews and you're struggling to find work, there are many reasons, but one of the major reasons is because you are not demonstrating that you are that leader that has critical thinking abilities, problem solving ability. It just feels like you're there to just get money, right? It feels like you're there to just get a job. You're tired of being at home. But if you can demonstrate this practical experience, demonstrate through case studies, and really show that you are a top catch for these organizations, they will struggle to not hire you. Who doesn't want it? Okay. So where does that leave you and I? Well, there are fundamental things that we have to do. And I think I probably didn't do justice with this particular slide here, but here's what I want to say. If you are in organizations where you can clearly see that the number of requirements, the number of people needed in that industry is gradually diminishing, not just be by virtue of the lack of financial, so the difficulties that companies face by virtue of the economic challenges, as it were, but just gradually AI is sort of automating the different tasks and making some of these tasks, tasks that you can delegate to jobs. Then you need to begin to pivot immediately, right? So if your job is at risks and the chances of this job not being there in the next 6 months, 7 months, a year, you need to gradually start thinking about your future. And it might mean pivoting into something different. It might mean one of the major industries that is going to see huge drop is the software engineering space. Are we going to get rid of software engineers? No, not at all. But is the number of software engineers needed in the whole world going to drop? 100%. And so if you're a software engineer praying that for some reason your job is now going to be the only one out that's going to be kept, you're joking. To begin to now explore fundamental ways, begin to look at other industries that are receiving incredible investments, that are experiencing buoyant growth, that have the projections to be here for the next maybe 3 to 5 years, and begin to pivot into those industries. Start upskilling there. Upskill in high demand areas. Okay? That's the first thing. Second thing is, if you are among those that, you have all the skill sets, but your industry is changing, right? Your industry is changing. You need to begin to have that willingness to pivot careers. Some of you need to change careers. Some of you need to just change industries or sectors. You need to develop a growth mindset. You need to have this sort of constantly looking for what is possible out there and begin to change careers. Now, there's a need for skills development, and then there's a need for career changes for some of you. That's what I'm saying. Right? There's a need for career change. Stop excusing the fact that you've applied for 1,000 jobs and then my storyline is going to be different. Maybe I'll apply for 1,500 and all of a sudden I'll get it so that I can go and stand somewhere and say, I applied for 1,000. It might not be the reality because the dynamics have changed forever. Hiring managers are using resource profiling documents to be able to establish whether or not they need to hire people or whether or not these roles are relevant. And at each interval or stage of the organization, depending on the challenges and the sort of the stages of the things that they are doing and the requirements of the market, some roles are going extinct. So begin to consider career changes. If for some of you, you should just be honest with yourself and just change your career. Now, what about those that are employed that are scared and they are concerned? Focus on impacts. You need to start having more skills that makes it harder for people to get rid of you. That's my goal. My goal has been, I'm going to make it harder for the hiring manager. I'm going to make it harder for the head of department. I'm going to make it harder for whoever to think about getting rid of me because I bring more to the table. I provide value to the organization. If you hire me, you've hired 4 different people in the same boat. Somebody that is doing cybersecurity, somebody that is doing digital transformation, somebody that is doing project management, somebody that is doing data analysis. I have made sure that I have fundamental skills that ultimately allows me to provide more value. And leadership, engineering, creatively thinking about how to provide value to the organization is something that I'm constantly thinking about, right? So make it harder for them to get rid of you, unless the business itself is going somewhere, is going down the drain because of financial challenges. But even that, make it harder. And if you transition, and you have all these sort of core skills and you're focusing on impact, leadership, you have more skills, etc., it's very easy to now move. If it's not working here, go to the next space. If this industry is not working, go to the other things. Some of you are too rigid. Change is the number one thing that you need to embrace in 2025, 2026. All right? If I've tried this industry, I tell people I have multiple means to work. It is a fact. I'm leveraging on digital transformation technologies. I'm leveraging on look, if it's not working here, I'll move here. If it's not working here, we're going to turn our attention to this one. And we're going to provide value there. And the last thing is leverage networking and personal branding, right? Build your network, have conversations with the relevant people, and then use social media. Let people see what you're capable of. I don't know how you are still struggling to work, but you have not put a camera on your face to record a YouTube video or a video and put on TikTok or on LinkedIn. I don't understand how that is possible. Start at home, start working on projects and things that you're doing and publicize it to the world, because obscurity will destroy your capacity to find your next job or your business. Right? So leverage your network, right? And personal branding. Build a brand. Social media. Forget about the fact that people are using it for all kinds of nonsense. You have a responsibility to feed your family, to feed yourself, and to ensure that you are able to live a normal, comfortable life. And that comes by working. So what are you going to do? You're going to pick up the camera, you're going to record yourself, and you're going to put it out there. And you're going to let people know what you have as strengths. That if you think about all the people that we naturally eventually like, it's because we are being exposed to them on a day-to-day basis. All right, so pick up the phone, get working, get busy. Okay. And the final thing that I want to say is this. Look, there's no magic to employers looking for, employees. They have a resource profile, they have an understanding of the projects that they are working on, they have goals and objectives and things that they want to achieve, and they are definitely going to be seeking people that align with those goals and objectives because they have specific skill sets and they have specific, core competencies that will allow these organizations to achieve their goals. The more you possess those things that they require, that is going to enable them to achieve their goals, the harder it is for them to get rid of you, no matter what happens. And the more you possess those things, the harder it is for you to go back the easier it is for you to go back into the market space and find relevant companies. I mean, just really think about it. If you had 3, 4, 5 major in-demand skills today, right? Major in-demand skills. And I'm not talking about, working for one major organization. I'm talking about skills, multiple skills, tools in different data analysis, project management, business analysis. You have fundamentals, depth of this. And somebody's probably asking, how are you going to be able to learn all of these things? Well, continuous learning and the use of artificial intelligence should be able to help you. And practice, 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 practice. Now, if you make these adjustments, you will be in a position to be able to make changes. Thank you very much, guys.